So let's talk about the difference between private property and personal property. In the Communist Manifesto, Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels called to abolish private property, which many misconstrue to mean that all personal belongings will have to be submitted to the communist cause. However, Marx and Engels clarify that items of personal use, fruits of one's own labor, do not constitute private property. Private property is the final and most complete expression of the system of producing and appropriating products that is based on class antagonisms and the exploitation of many by the few. To clarify even further, that means that whatever is used to mass produce goods, be it factories, plants, big plots of land, expensive high-tech equipment, these are examples of private property. Some may argue upon hearing this that small businesses are not taken into account. Marx and Engels do mention small peasant and a petty artisan and how these are continuously destroyed under capitalism already. Lenin also mentions this in the three sources and three component parts of Marxism. He says, capital created by the labor of the worker crushes the worker, ruining small proprietors and creating an army of unemployed. By destroying small-scale production, capital leads to an increase in productivity of labor and to the creation of a monopoly position of the associations of big capitalists. In the modern world, we encounter what we call corporativism, when smaller businesses are being bought by bigger ones, and the conditions are such that smaller businesses cannot compete. Engels, in his Principles of Communism, also talks about how the big industry outgrew free competition and now is bound to overproduce, which inevitably is going to lead to a collapse, he says, about every 5 to 7 years. And that a new social order is pending in order to remedy these capitalist ailments. Lenin, in the development of capitalism in Russia, also talks about a handicraftsmen which are comparable to the modern world entrepreneurs, vying to compete with each other, which Lenin calls backwards and a return to the past. So the notion that many cling to nowadays, that they are millionaires in the making, is similar to the dream of small masters, as Lenin calls them, of the late 19th century. Going back to the private property and personal property confusion, the difference between the two should be obvious. The means of exploiting others are not accessible to most of us. And if we do not succumb to the capitalist delusion of a free market where we all compete in good faith and honestly earn astounding sums of money, we can all see the obvious difference between one's own personal possessions and the means of exploitation.